Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvajakacharya Astar Sata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Gaur Premananda. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 2, Remembrance of Lord Krishna, Text 9. Ingita Gyaha Puru Praudha Ekaramash Cha Sattvatah Sattvataham Rishabham Sarve Bhutavasam Amamsata Ingita Gya Puru Praudha Ekaramascha Sattvatah Sattvatam Rishabham Sarve Bhutavasam Amamsata Ingita Gya Puru Praudha Ekaramascha Sattvatah Sattvatam Rishabham Sarve Bhutavasam Amamsata Ingita Gya Puru Praudha Ekaramascha Sattvatah Sattvatam Rishabham Sarve Bhutavasam Amamsata Gita Gya Puru Praudha Kadramascha Sattvatah Bhutavasam Rishabham Sarve Bhutavasam Amamsata Puru Praudha Sattvatah Rishabham Sarve Amamsata Gita Gya Puru Praudha Ekaramascha Sattvatah Rishabham Sarve Bhutavasam Amamsata Ingita Gya Puru Praudha Gita Sattvatah Vaishnavis. Gita Prabhu. Sarve Mamsata Sarve Kaptam Vishabam Sarve Bhutavasam Mamsata Ingita Gyaha, expert in psychic study. Puru Pradaha, highly experienced. Eka, one. Aramaha, relaxation. Cha, also. Satvataha, devotees, or own men. Sattvatam Rishabham, head of the family. Sarve, all. Bhuta Avasam, all pervading. Amamsata, could think. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. The Yadus were all experienced devotees, learned and expert in psychic study. Over and above this, they were always with the Lord in all kinds of relaxations, and still they were able to know Him only as the One Supreme who dwells everywhere. Purport. In the Vedas it is said that the Supreme Lord, or the Paramatma, cannot be understood simply by the strength of one's erudition or power of mental speculation. Nayam atma pravachanena labhyo na medhaya na bahuna shrutena. Katrupanishad 1:2-23. He can be known only by one who has the mercy of the Lord. The Yadavas were all exceptionally learned and experienced, but in spite of their knowing the Lord as the one who lives in everyone's heart, they could not understand that He is the original personality of Godhead. This lack of knowledge was not due to their insufficient erudition. It was due to their misfortune. In Vrindavan, however, the Lord was not even known as the Paramatma because the residents of Vrindavan were pure, unconventional devotees of the Lord and could think of Him only as their object of love. They did not know that He is the personality of Godhead. The Yadus, or the residents of Dwarka, however, could know Lord Krishna as Vasudeva, or the Supersoul living everywhere, but not as the Supreme Lord. As scholars of the Vedas, they verified the Vedic hymns, Eko Devaha, Sarvabhuta Divasaha, Antaryami, and Vrishninam Paradevata. The Yadus, therefore, accepted Lord Krishna as Supersoul incarnated in their family, and not more than that. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudhi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, what to say about these things? It seems pretty mysterious that the Yadus weren't able to appreciate Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but only as Super Soul. Of course, we say only, that's a pretty high state of realization as well. But what I find even more bewildering is that the residents of Vrindavan, they don't see Krishna as God at all. So practically in every page of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada is saying, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it seems incongruous in one sense that we don't know. Srila Prabhupada says many times that here in the material world we don't know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So why is that in one sense we're condemned for not knowing Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they're praised for not knowing? In the spiritual world, they're praised. In Vrindavan, Goloka Vrindavan, they're praised for not knowing that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we're supposed to be going from that state to that state, from this state of recognizing Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead to not understanding Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, what is that? Avajananti mam mudha manusham tanam ashritam. It's condemning people for not recognizing him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead when he appears before them on this planet in his human-like form. Saying, Avajananti mam mudha. So, they're fools and rascals who don't recognize me as being the Supreme Personality of Godhead when I appear before them. So, the reason why we have to appreciate Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and really focus on that is because, Krishna may appear before us and we may conventionally pay our obeisances, but in reality, we're seeing we're giving our attention to so many other things and putting them on a very high platform, whether it's one's family or country or job or some person that one knows. We put so many other things in that position of being worshipful, of that we hear about, that we speak about, that we worship and serve in so many ways. So we have to understand, no, Krishna is the only personality who is worthy of being on that platform in our hearts. So, Mamekam Sharanam Vraja, Krishna tells Arjuna, surrender to me only. That's what you should be doing. Sarva Dharman Parityaja, Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. Give up all your other activities of worshiping this and that, giving your attention to this person and that person. Give it all to me. See everything in relationship with me. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. I am the source of everything. Ishavashyamidam sarvam. Everything is my property. Understand, everything is my property. I am sarvasichaham hridisani vishto. I am situated in the hearts of all. Of course, the Yadus at least understood that. So when we learn to see everything in relationship to Krishna, then we're starting to become qualified to maybe one day, somehow or other, by the mercy of the Lord, the mercy of the pure devotees, we may be able to enter into that world where the residents of Vrindavan, they're totally absorbed in Krishna. So their understanding or lack of understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead is overcome, totally overwhelmed by their intense focus, day and night, 24/7, always thinking of Krishna with love, desiring to serve Krishna, desiring nothing. They have no selfish desires. They only want to please Krishna in any way that they can. So that not understanding Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead is different from the materialist not understanding Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and doing everything for themselves, selfishly. So to get to that other position, we have to appreciate and understand Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha. Said, yes, there are so many controllers, but Krishna is the supreme controller. Nityo Nityanam, Chaitanas Chaitananam, Ekabahunam, Yo Vididati Kaman. Yes, there's so many eternal conscious beings, but among them one is supreme, and that is Krishna. So we have to understand that. So that's one point. It's the main point that's being made in this purport. And Another thing I just found interesting about this verse is this term Ingita Gya, which Srila Prabhupada translates here as expert in psychic study. So you normally don't think of devotees as psychics, but Srila Prabhupada is saying that here. In Gita Gya, they were expert in psychic studies, by which this word it occurs in the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Chaitanya Charitamrita about 37 times, according to the database anyways. And I look at all of the uses of it, and mainly it means the ability to understand a person's intention, even when they don't directly say it. You can just tell by the way they're looking, or some sign that they give. You can tell their inner psychology, what they're intending. So it's used many times in that sense. For example, in the story of Devahuti and Kardama Muni, Kardama Muni was a sage. He was living in the forest, a life of austerity, but he wanted a wife. So Krishna understood that, and he arranged that the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu, Devahuti, would become his wife. And it said that she was Ingita Kovida. She was expert in understanding the intentions of her husband, and she was very much in the mood of accommodating and trying to please her husband by understanding. She had this ability to understand what he liked and preferred and wanted. And so even though he didn't say, this is what I want, she'd understand it and act accordingly. So this also comes up many times in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, where his associates would understand from his mood or some sign that he would make or something. They would understand, oh, he doesn't like this, or he likes this, or he wants to do this. Of course, in our stage of life, we have to be careful about thinking, oh, I understand what Prabhupada wants me to do. I saw him winking at me or something. It's good to check it out with bona fide authorities, or if the spiritual master himself is here, kind of check with I'm thinking you want me to, from what you said or from the way you looked, I think you were telling me I should check it out, confirm it. But like different associates of Lord Chaitanya were known for their ability to understand his intentions, like his servant Govinda. In the Antya Lila of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's described how Lord Chaitanya would go to the temple in Jagannath Puri, and before he'd go into the temple, he would wash his feet. But he told Govinda, his servant, I don't want anybody, no devotee should take that water. So, and the devotees came to know that Lord Chaitanya didn't want them taking the water from that had washed his feet and taking it to get some spiritual advantage from it. But there was one devotee, Kalidas, and he kind of sneaked in, and Lord Chaitanya was washing his feet, having water poured on them, and this Kalidas just snuck up, put his hand out, got the water, and drank it. And then he did it again, a second time, and then a third time, and finally, Lord Chaitanya told him, okay, that's enough. The reason, Krishnadas Kaviraj explains that the reason Lord Chaitanya let him take those 3 handfuls of water that had washed his lotus feet and drink it was that he understood that in his heart he was very respectful of him, the Supreme Lord, and respectful of the Vaishnavas, and that he was actually quite a good devotee. So he allowed that. Then, he went home to take his lunch, and Govinda is serving Lord Chaitanya his lunch. And he knows Kalidas. Lord Chaitanya looks up and he knows that Kalidas is standing by the doorway, just waiting like a vulture, prasadam vulture, to get the Maha prasadam from the Lord's plate. So again, Lord Chaitanya can understand, okay, he's here again. But Govinda, it said, again, this word in Gita, Kovida, is used. He understood from the way that Lord Chaitanya was looking that he wanted Govinda to give some Mahaprasadam to Kalidas. So he did it. And the Chaitanya Charitamrita says that Govinda was expert like that. He could understand from the mood or any little sign that he could detect what Lord Chaitanya desired. So those are some thoughts on this verse. Any questions or comments? Okay, Brigapati Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu, for a wonderful class, as usual. In regard to the first point you were making about how the pure devotees are always absorbed in thoughts of love of Krishna. So in the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, if you can't fix your mind upon me without deviation, follow the regulative principles of devotional service. And in this way you'll develop desire to attain me. But we learn from the Nectar of Devotion, I guess ultimately from the Padma Purana, that of the regulative principles, the first and foremost regulative principle is always remember Krishna, never forget him. So if you kind of like juggle around it's almost like it's Krishna saying, well, if you can't fix your mind upon me without deviation, follow the regulative principles, and the regulative principles always remember me and not forget me. So, in other words, I guess what I'm asking is that if a devotee is just determined to follow the regulative principles, short of always being able to remember Krishna and not forget him, is that sufficient to feel confident that I'm on the path, I'm doing what I need to do to be elevated to this platform of being able to always remember Krishna with love and devotion, like ultimately like these, the residents of Vrindavan and some of these other devotees we're hearing about? And what exactly is meant by the regulative principles? Because obviously it's not just that always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna, because we can't do that. Krishna, that's why Krishna's making that statement. If you can't fix your mind upon me without deviation, follow the regulative principles. So how exactly are we supposed to understand that verse?
Regulative principles means the process of bhakti yoga. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smartam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam. So it's the whole process of devotional service, Vaidhi Bhakti, Sadhana Bhakti, that Srila Prabhupada has given us. He was very expert. He was in Gita Kovida. He could understand, the mentality of the people in this age of Kali, in the Western world especially, but all over the world, India included. He could understand the mentality of people, so he made an adjustment of the the practices of bhakti yoga and gave it to us to follow so we would come to the ultimate result of being able to always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Archita?
Thank you for focusing on in Gita Kovida. It's very important. I'm glad you focused on that. A little more direct answer to Brigapati's question is that if you look at that verse in detail, Sarvavedi Nisedaksu Eta Iva Kinkara. So there are other vidis. It's not that there are only those two. Sarvavedi Nisedaksu Eta Iva Kinkara. So all the other vidis, all the other rules and regulations are servants of those two. And if you follow those other regulations, you will come to the master, always remembering and never forgetting. It's not that those are the only two regulative principles. Those are the chief ones. And there are others that if you follow properly, you will come to this point, as Drutakarma pointed out, of always remembering Krishna and never forgetting Krishna. So we begin by hearing and chanting about Vishnu. We don't just hear and chant about anything or anyone. Prabhupada made that clear, because other people, they will hear about this demigod, this great person, that great person. But we focus on hearing about the Supreme Vishnu, Krishna, and if you do that properly, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, then you will come to the point of always remembering Krishna and always seeing Krishna everywhere, everything in him, as he says. It doesn't necessarily remember me, it gives you the formula. See everyone as being mine, that I'm in control of everything and everyone, and one who can see like that will always remember like that. So there's a formula that if you follow properly, you will come to this point of Smartavya Satatam Vishnu.
Thank you. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.